and hearty welcome you all on behalf of NIMI Chennai. I am S. Sivarasu from NSTA Chennai. Today we are going to learn about radius gauges. First we will see the objectives of radius gauges. Number 1. State the features of radius gauges. Number 2. State the uses of radius gauges. For checking different kinds of profiles, they are using different kinds of instruments or gauges, radius gauges. In industry or workshop, components are machined to have curved formation on the edges or at the junction of two steps, especially concave and convex surfaces. Accordingly, they are called as radius and fillet gauges. The size of the radius is normally provided on a drawing. The gauges used to check the radius formed on the edges of diameters or radius, and the gauges used to check the fillets are called as fillet gauges. Radius gauges are used to check the internal and external radius of the workpieces. These gauges are made of high quality steel sheets and are finished to accurate radius. The radius of parts are checked by comparing the radius of the gauges. The radius gauges are available in sets of several blades held in a holder. Next, applications of radius gauges. Checking the corner radius of part being filled to shape. Checking a radius formed by a milling cutter or filed surface. Some sets have provisions to check the radius and fillet on each blade, and some sets have separate set of blades to check the radius and fillet. Each blade can be swung out of the holder separately and has its size engraved on it. The size of the radius is marked on individual blades of the gauges. Next, before using the radius gauge, what are the precautions to be observed? Number 1. Check that it is clean and undamaged. Number 2. Remove burrs from the workpiece. Number 3. Select the leaf of the gauge from set corresponding to the radius to be checked. I hope you are all understood about features of radius gauges, different uses of radius gauges. Thank you all. We will see in the next video.
Greeting and welcome all on behalf of NIMI Chennai. I am G. Rajvarna from NSTI Chennai. Today's topic is response on emergency, like emergency power failure, emergency system failure, or in any case of event of fire, and how to report an emergency. Objectives. At the end of this class, you shall be able to explain the steps to be taken on emergency power failure or system failure, also able to state the fire safety and immediate actions on emergency, and explain to report an emergency. Over some decades, the electrical power supply and the system process management becomes the most important requirement in the process of production and the industry's growth as well. If there is any failure occurs in the power supply or in the process of system management, it may produce or it may lessen the quality of the production and it may lead to the losses to the management. So it is necessary to respond immediately at any event of emergency power failure or emergency system failure or in any case of event of fire. So let us see the steps, guidelines to be taken in case of power failure. If there is a power failure, first start the emergency generator. The generator will also keep the UPS and the cryogenic compressors running. Steps to be performed. Get a flashlight. Look out for power transfer switch and switch over to normal power to emergency power by pressing the latch. Now check the fuel valves open or not. If it is not in open condition, then open the valves. Move the starter switch of the generator to run position. The engine will start at once. Allow few minutes to warm up the engine. Now check all the gauges, pressures, temperature, voltage and frequency. Check the AC line and ready green light on the front panel. Starting the generator will provide immediate power to necessary machineries and the systems which should not be interrupted during protection. Next one is in case of system failure. In many organizations, the effect of system process plays an important role in process of production. It is always vital to maintain production output rate and a higher level of product quality. But sometimes there may be a failure in that system which may affect the total productivity. So what are the causes of the system failure? System failure happens if the bug or virus invades the system process. Several varieties of bugs are there, like assassin bug, lightning bug, brain bug. Clearance of these types of viruses should be updated frequently. Then only the system can be run normal. In case of any event of fire, everyone wants to work in a safe environment. But unfortunately, any fire incident happens, immediate actions should be taken. So what are the things we have to take on the immediate actions? When fire alarm sounds in your building, evacuate to outside immediately. Never go back into the building. Make way for the firefighters and the trucks to come in. Never use an elevators. Do not panic and alert everyone. Next topic is reporting emergency. Reporting an emergency is one of those things that seems simple enough until actually when put to use in emergency situations. There are few guidelines given below to approach the problem. Assess the urgency of the situation. Before you report an emergency, make sure that the situation is genuinely urgent. Call for emergency service if you believe that a situation is a life-threatening or otherwise extremely disruptive. If you are reporting a fire, describe how the fire started and where exactly it is located. And also inform if someone has already been injured or missing. If it is a life-threatening medical emergency, explain how the incident occurred and what symptoms the person currently displays. The emergency number varies: 100 for police and fire and 108 for ambulance. Report your location. It is an important thing. the first thing the emergency dispatcher will ask you is where you are located. So if you are giving the prompt location, it is easy so that the emergency service can get there as quickly as possible. Give the exact street address. If you are not sure of the exact address, give at least approximate address. Whatever the situation, if any emergency arises, acting immediately can reduce the further worsening of the situations. I hope now you all understand the emergency and how to act on any emergency power failure or in case of any fire accidents, the causes of the system and how to report an emergency. Thank you and see you all in our next class.
Greetings, welcome you all on behalf of NIMI, Chennai. I am Tangababu from Government IT, Chengalpattu, Tamil Nadu. Today we are going to discuss on safe handling of fuel spillage and safe disposal of toxic dust. At the end of this class, you shall be able to state the handling of fuel spillage, to state the effects of fuel spillage in workplace, to list the waste material in workshop and to explain the methods of waste disposal. Let us see an example. In our home, we will not keep kerosene near to fire and usually we wear mask while cleaning cobweb, that is spider web. Otherwise, it may cause sneezing. Let us get into our class, the fuel spillage. When it happens while repairing fuel feed components and manually refilling the fuel tank. Where it happens? Usually it happens at our workshop. What happens if fuel spill in workplace? Sure, it causes fire hazards. Let us see do's and don'ts while fuel spillage. Do's: use funnel during fuel filling. Use tray during air bleeding in fuel systems. After repair done or spillage of fuel, mop quickly. Keep fuel tank away from external fire in case of stationary engines. Now we can see don'ts. Don't store fuel near hot engine. Don't refuel during hot conditions. The vapor in fuel tank may cause fire. Don't smoke when fueling. Now let us see the topic, safe disposal of toxic dust. The two common ways of affecting us by toxic dust in workshops are: 1. By breathing the unburnt exhaust gases and cleaning dust particles by flowing compressed air. 2. By bringing the dangerous chemical in contact with the skin which spilled on the engine component and ground. Now let us see 5 main toxic particles in automotive workplace are: asbestos, anti-knock agents, manganese, lead dust fumes, solvents and diesel fumes. First we can see asbestos. Automotive parts contain asbestos are gaskets, packings, clutches and brakes. Produces dust due to wear and tear of components. It causes depression, general body discomfort, blue line to appear on the gums and a bluish black edge to the teeth. Second toxic dust is anti-knock agents, which are added in fuel to improve the fuel efficiency. It can poison a person by swallowing or inhaling. It causes eye irritations, shortness of breath, headaches, dizziness and kidney malfunction. The third one is manganese. It enters the body through inhaling when welding the auto parts. It causes impaired motor skill and coordination to our blind, irritable and very uncomfortable, constantly feeling nervous, psychiatric challenges. Lead dust fumes. This affect the persons working on radiators, welding metals, mishandling of batteries, paintings and using lubricants. It causes short-term memory loss.
Then solvents and diesel exhaust fumes, which is harmful solvents like benzene, toluene and xylene and diesel fumes, which may cause us vomiting, feeling lightheaded, headache, irritation of the eyes, nose and throat, numbness, discomforting feeling in the chest, noisy breath. Now let us see the do's in toxic dust. Use vacuum cleaner for cleaning toxic dust. Use proper personal protective equipments like face mask, goggles, earplug, rubber gloves, respirator, etc. Provide high-speed exhaust. Provide good ventilation. Create small waste diets and dispose them spontaneously. Use separate labeled waste oil and waste kerosene. Store in separate containers. What are the don'ts in toxic dust? Are don't use compressed air for cleaning.
Students, so far we discussed about safe handling of fuel spillage and safe disposal of toxic dust. I hope you all understood. Thank you. Meet you in the next video.
Greeting and welcome all on behalf of National Instructional Media Institute, Chennai. I am G. Rajeshwarna from National Skill Training Institute, Chennai. Today we are going to see about the basic first aid treatment for electric shock and the treatment for electric burns and severe bleeding. At the end of this class, you shall be able to state the first aid treatment for electric shock, and you can able to state what is electric burns and the first aid treatment for electric burns, and also able to describe severe bleeding and the first aid treatments for severe bleeding. As we discussed in our previous video, the electric current passes through the part of our body causes electric shock. The severity of the electric shock depends upon the magnitude of the current and the duration of the contact. Effects of electric shock at very low levels of current may only be an unpleasant tingling sensation, but this itself may be sufficient to cause some persons to lose their balance and fall. At a higher level of current, the person receiving a shock may be thrown off his feet and will experience severe pain and possibly minor burns at the point of contact. At an excessive shock can also cause burning of the skin at the point of contact and may cause deeper burns. Let us see the first aid treatment for electric shock. If we or someone else have been shocked, what should we do? The question is like this. So if we or someone else have been shocked, our immediate response can have a big impact on minimizing the severity of the accident. So if assistance is at hand, so send for medical aid and carry on with the first aid treatment immediately. Make sure the victim is not in contact with the life supply. Remember one thing, prompt treatment is essential. First of all, remove the victim from the contact of supply. Then check for the victim's natural breathing and consciousness. If the casualty is unconscious but is breathing, loosen the clothing about the neck, chest and waist and place the casualty in the recovery position. If the victim is unconscious and not breathing, then take steps to apply artificial respiration resuscitation. Before starting artificial respiration, check the victim for injury and burns and then decide on the suitable method of artificial resuscitations. In case of injury or burns to the chest and or belly, follow the mouth-to-mouth method. In case of burns, injury in the back side, follow Nelson's method. In case the mouth is closed tightly, use Scuffers or Holgen-Nelson method. These methods should be practiced promptly. Next one is electric burns and the first aid treatment for electric burns. Burns are the common injury in the accident of electric shock. So burns are usually most severe at the point of contact with the electric source and the ground. Generally, hands, heels and head are the most common contact point of electric shock and where we could feel the severity of the electric burns. Burns are very painful. Electric burns on the victim may not cover a big area but may be deep seated. If the burn is small, cover the area with a clean, sterile dressing if you can. Don't use band-aid or anything else that might stick to the burn. If a larger area of the body is burnt, do not give treatment except to exclude the air. Example, by covering with the clean paper or a clean cloth soaked in clean water. Actually, this relieves the pain. Get expert help as quickly as possible. So now you understand the treatment for electric burns, right? After that, we are going to see about the severe bleeding, the causes of severe bleeding and the first aid treatment for severe bleeding. Severe bleeding. Any wound which is bleeding profusely, especially in the wrist, hand or fingers, must be considered serious and must receive professional attention. As an immediate first aid measure, pressure on the wound itself is the best means of stopping the bleeding and avoiding infection. In case of severe bleeding, always make the patient to lie down and rest. If possible, raise the injured part above the level of the body. Then apply pressure to the wound to stop the bleeding. And important thing, call for medical assistance immediately. To control severe bleeding, squeeze together the sides of the wound. Apply pressure as long as it is necessary to stop the bleeding. When the bleeding has stopped, put a dressing over the wound and cover it with a pad of soft material. For an abdominal wound which may be caused by falling on a sharp tool, keep the patient bending over the wound to stop internal bleeding. In case of large wound, apply a clean pad and bandage firmly in the place. If bleeding is very severe, apply more than one dressing. Call for expert or doctor's help as soon as possible. Whatever the nature of the wound, our immediate prompt first aid action can lessen the severity of the injury. So act immediately. I hope now you all understand the first aid treatments for electric shock, electric burns and severe bleeding. So now try these following simple questions. Well tried. Thank you all and see you in our next video. Greeting and welcome all on behalf of NIMI, Chennai. I am G. Rajeshwarna from NSTI, Chennai. Today our topic is fire fighting. At the end of this class, you shall be able to describe the general procedure to be adopted at the event of fire, and you can determine the correct type of fire extinguisher based on the type of fire and how to use the fire extinguisher and extinguishing of fire. As we discussed in our previous video, fire is a burning of flammable materials. A fire in an unwanted place and in an unwanted occasions and also in uncontrollable quantity can create a huge damage or destroy the property or materials. The uncontrollable fire might injure peoples and sometimes it causes loss of life as well. So, the prevention of fire is very much important. If you find any outbreak of fire discovered, the immediate control and extinguishing of fire has to be taken immediately. And immediate action can minimize the effect of fire accident. So let us see how to operate, how to act at once when we are in the event of fire. It must be important to understanding the basic of how the fire occurs and how the fire is behaving inside a building. There are some general procedure to be adopted in the event of fires. First, raise an alarm and alert people surrounding by shouting fire, fire, fire when observe the fire. So we have to alert everyone by raising an alarm signal so that everyone can able to escape from the fire. Next, inform fire service are arranged to inform immediately. Next one, turn off all the machineries and power, gases and electricity also. Close the doors and windows but do not lock or bolt them. This will limit the oxygen fed to the fire and prevent its spreading. Try to deal with the fire if you can do so safely. Do not risk your life by getting trapped. Anybody not involved in fighting the fire should leave calmly using the emergency exit and go to the designated assembly point. Do not allow people to go nearer to the fire. Open emergency exit and ask them to go away. Failure to do this may mean that some person being unaccounted for and others may have to put themselves to the trouble of searching for him or her at risk to themselves. Try to deal with the extinguishing of fire if you can do so safely with the fire extinguishers. First of all, analyze to identify the type of fire. Yeah, different types of fire has to be dealt with different ways and different types of fire extinguishing agent. Ultimately, the choosing of fire extinguishing agent and understanding of the fire, basic concept of fire, will lessen the chances of on-duty firefighter injuries and fatalities. And choosing of right agent will minimize the effect. If you choose the wrong agent, it will create the thing very worst. So, in order to select the right type of extinguisher to put out a fire, you must understand the different classes of fire. By analyzing the type of fire, we can determine which type of fire extinguisher is to be used to extinguish the fire. Okay, let us assume that we identified the fire extinguishers to be used, but now the next question is how to use the fire extinguishers. There is a method to operate a fire extinguisher safely. For example, assume the fire is class B type, that means flammable liquefied solids. So we have to select CO2, carbon dioxide fire extinguisher. Locate and pick up CO2 fire extinguisher and check for its pressure and expiry date. Next, what we have to do, break the seal as shown here. Next one, pull the safety pin from the handle, pin located at the top of the fire extinguisher. Aim the extinguisher nozzle or hose at the base of the fire. This will remove the source of fuel from the fire. While using fire extinguisher, keep yourself low and at safe distance. Fire extinguishers are manufactured for use from the distance. Now, squeeze the handle lever slowly to discharge the agent. Swipe side to side approximately 15 cm over the fuel fire until the fire is put off. While using the fire extinguisher, we have to follow some cautions. Caution on extinguishing of fire. Fire is a life-risking factor. So while trying to extinguishing of fire, we should be very careful on our safety. Caution of using fire extinguisher. While putting off fire, the fire may flare up, but do not panic before as it puts off promptly. If the fire doesn't respond well after you have used up the fire extinguisher, move away yourself away from the fire point. Do not attempt to put out a fire where it is emitting toxic smoke. Leave it for the professionals. And remember one thing, your life is more important than property. So do not place yourself or others at risk. Steps of operation of fire extinguisher. In order to remember the simple operation of the extinguisher, there is a trick word available. Remember PASS. P-A-S-S. This will help you to use the fire extinguisher. P for pull, A for aim, S for squeeze and S for sweep. Always remember, at the event of fire, don't get panic and start respond immediately and safely as much as you can. I hope you all understand the general procedure to be adapted at the event of fire and how to choose a particular fire extinguisher for a particular class of fire and how to operate a fire extinguisher as well. Now it's evaluation time. Try to answer the following simple questions. Good try. Practice more questions to know more information on this topic. Thank you all and see you in our next video.
Greetings, welcome you all on behalf of NIMI, Chennai. I am Thangababu from Government IT, Chengalpattu, Tamil Nadu. Today we are going to discuss about scope of mechanical diesel trade. At the end of this class, you shall be able to state the importance and the scope of mechanical diesel trade. It is a nationwide popular trade in ITIs under Craftsman Training Scheme, CTS. I think you may know the course duration is 1 year. Students, on completing this course, you shall be able to identify the various types of tools, equipments, raw materials and spare parts used in mechanical engines, and also you can practice on measuring, fitting, welding, sheet metal works, mechanical, electrical and hydraulic systems, fault diagnosis and rectification. Students, you also able to practice in putting indent and repairing various types of diesel engines. Okay, next we can see career progress pathway. After finishing this course, you can join apprenticeship training in different types of industries, and often you can get a National Apprenticeship Certificate, NAC. Students, you can also join Craftsman Instructor Training Scheme, CITS, to become an instructor in ITIs. Okay students, shall we see the job opportunities? After finishing this course, you can become a technician in mechanical diesel trade. You can join central and state government establishments like Railways, Airport Authority of India, Marine Engineering, Militaries, Air Force, State Transport Corporations, Government Automotive Workshops. You may also join lab instructor in government and private polytechnic colleges and mechanics in universities, engineering colleges, workshops. Students, there is a opportunities in automobile service centers also. You can also join mining industry, agricultural machinery service centers, diesel mechanic in theme parks, service engineer in diesel generator manufacturers, and also you having opportunities in construction industries also. Students, there is a lot of self-employment opportunities also. You can start automobile service centers in rural and urban areas. You can become a maintenance contractors. You can also be a manufacturer of sub-assembly. You can start a dealership or you can get an agency for automobile spare parts. Sure, you can own a garage also. Students, there is a lot of opportunities in overseas. I hope you understood the scope, the importance and the opportunities in mechanical diesel trade. Keep learning, explore training, go with a job and become an entrepreneur. Thank you. Meet you in the next video. Greetings, welcome you all on behalf of NIMI, Chennai. I am Thangababu from Government ITA, Chengalpattu, Tamil Nadu. Today we are going to discuss about screwdrivers. At the end of this class, you shall be able to describe about screwdrivers, classify the hand-held screwdrivers, features of standard screwdrivers, different types of special screwdrivers and their specific uses, and finally specify standard screwdrivers. Students, you know that screwdrivers are used to tighten or loosen screws. We are using the screws to fix the machine elements in the machines. There are two types of screwdrivers majorly. They are standard type and special type. The standard type screwdrivers having tips to suit recessed head screw slots. The special type screwdrivers having the tips to suit recessed head screws. Features of standard screwdrivers. Commonly, screwdrivers must have the following things: the tip of the turn screws with slotted heads. The handles of screwdrivers are made of metal or wood and it has some insulating materials. The handle is shaped to give a good grip for turning. The blades are made by hardened and tempered carbon steel or alloy steel. The blade length ranging from 40 mm to more than 350 mm are available in the markets. Next we can see the standard screwdrivers. The standard screwdrivers are further classified as heavy duty screwdrivers, light duty screwdrivers and stumpy screwdrivers. Heavy duty screwdrivers. Heavy duty screwdrivers have square blade. By this blade we can apply extra twisting force with the end of the spanner. The heavy duty screwdrivers of London pattern have a flat blade. This type of screwdrivers is mostly used by carpenters. Second one, light duty screwdrivers. These screwdrivers has a round blade with parallel tips. This type of screwdriver is used by electricians. The blades are insulated to avoid short circuiting live parts. Third one, stumpy screwdrivers. It is a small sturdy screwdriver. It is used in low space limitations. It is used when other type of screwdrivers are unable to use in low space limitations. Hence, the stumpy screwdrivers are suitable for low space limitations. Special screwdrivers and their uses. There are offset screwdriver, ratchet screwdriver, Phillips cross recess screwdrivers and ratchet offset screwdrivers. Offset screwdriver. This type of screwdriver are used on screws placed in the blind spaces. Its blades are made short with tips at right angle. We can apply greater turning force on screws by this leverage. Second one, ratchet screwdriver. This type of screwdriver has 3-position ratchet control for screwing and unscrewing. It also provides a neutral position. It is used for turning screws in confined spaces. It is used for slackening and tightening with a medium force. This type of screwdriver is used for mass productions. Third one, Phillips cross recessed screwdrivers. These screwdrivers have cubic form of cross-shaped tips. It is unlikely to slip from the cross-shaped slots in Phillips recessed head screws. The end of the 4 flats are tapered to an angle of 53 degree. The extreme end is ground to 110 degree. It is available in 4 different sizes. It is specified by sizes of 1, 2, 3 and 4, which corresponds the sizes of Phillips screw heads. Ratchet offset screwdrivers. It is used for quicker application. Ratchet offset screwdrivers are available with removable tips. Special purpose screwdrivers. The small sturdy screwdrivers are available to use where there is a limited space. The insulated blade screwdrivers are used by the electricians. Okay, let us see the precautions while using the screwdrivers. The tip of the screwdrivers to be fitted correctly in the correct position or in the screw slot while screwing or unscrewing the screws. Our hand should be in right position while using the screwdrivers. Always apply more downward pressure while using a Phillips screwdriver. Our hands to be kept away from the screws to avoid injury due to the slipping of screwdriver. Don't use screwdrivers with split or defective handles. The damaged screwdrivers blades can be ground and then be used. The end of the tip should be thick as the slot of the screw during grinding the tips. While using screwdrivers on small jobs, brace the job on the bench or hold them in a vise. These are the precautions to be followed while using the screwdrivers. Okay students, now let us see the specifications of screwdrivers. Screwdrivers are specified by the following. 1. Length of the blade. 2. Width of the tip. The normal blade length is 45 to 300 mm and the width of the blade is 3 to 10 mm. Many different sizes of screwdrivers are available. They are standard, reed, Prince and Phillips types. The offset screwdriver are used in tight quarters. It is also used in unable access area by stubby screwdriver. Okay, let us see the safety while using the screwdrivers. Always use actual size of the screwdrivers for actual size of the screws. Don't do any repair work by holding a job in the hand with the help of the screwdriver because it may cause injury to the hand. I hope you understood the screwdriver, its classification and its specifications. Thank you. See you in the next video.
Good morning everybody, I am Sivarasu from NSTA Chennai. Today we are going to discuss about types of files. Types of files. for filing and finishing different profiles, files of different shapes are used. The shape of files are stated by its cross section. The common files of different shapes are they using flat file, hand file, square file, round file, half round file, triangular file and a knife edge file. There are different shapes of files are used. Now let us see the one by one. The flat file. Generally the flat files are rectangular in cross section. The edges along with of these files are parallel up to 2/3 of length and then taper towards the point. The faces are double cut and the edges of single cut. These files are used for general purpose of work. They are useful for filing and finishing external and internal surfaces. The most commonly used file is flat file. Number 2, hand file. These files are similar to the flat file and their cross section. The edges along with the width are parallel throughout the length. The faces are double cut, one edge is single cut whereas other is safe edge. Because of safe edge, they are useful for filing surfaces which are at right angles to surface already finished. Square file. The square file is square in its cross section. It is useful for filing square holes, internal square corners, rectangular opening, keyways and splines, etc. Round file. A round file, it is in a round in cross section, that means circular in cross section. It is used for enlarging the circular holes and filing profiles with fillets and half round shape like that. They will use round file. Half round file. A half round file is in the shape of segment of circle, that is half circle. It is useful for filing internal curved surfaces. Knife edge file. Knife edge file has cross section of sharp triangles used for filing narrow grooves and angles about 10 degree. They are available in both single and a double cut also. Triangular file. The triangular file is of a triangular cross section. It is used for filing corners and angles which are more than 60 degree. They will use triangular file. I hope you all understand the different shape of files. Thank you. Good morning everybody and welcome you all on behalf of NIMI Chennai. I am S. Sivarasu from NSTA Chennai. Today we are going to learn about sharpening of chisels. Let us see the objective first. Number 1. State the necessity for sharpening of chisel. Number 2. State the procedure to follow while grinding the chisel. State the safety precaution to be observed while grinding the chisel. In modern industry, there are many type of cutting tools are using according to that profile. If we have sharp cutting tools, easily we can remove the material from workpiece. For an example, if knife is sharp, easily we can cut the vegetables or fruits. What is the advantages of sharpening up cutting tools or cutting edges? Number 1, easily we can remove the materials. Number 2, time also saved. Number 3, no need of much effort to remove the material. Due to continuous use of cutting tools or cutting hard materials, cutting edges may become blunt. Chisels will become blunt due to continuous use. For efficiency in chipping, the chisels are to be resharpened regularly. Chisels are sharpened on grinding machines. After regrinding many times, the cutting edges become too thick. Such chisels are unsuitable for resharpening. They should be forged and brought to the shape before grinding. Before commencing grinding, the following procedure should be observed. Number 1. Ensure the wheel guards are in place and are securely fastened. Number 2. Inspect the condition of the grinding wheel for breakage or any cracks. Number 3. Wear safety goggles. Number 4. When switching on the grinding machine, stand aside until the wheel reaches the operating speed. First, we will inspect the tool rest. If there is too much of gap between the tool rest and the wheel, adjust it and position it as close to the wheel as possible, especially 2 to 3 mm distance between the wheel and the tool rest. Ensure that there is a sufficient coolant in the container. While grinding, rest the body of chisel on the tool rest and allow the point to touch the wheel. Rock the point slightly on the both sides in arc to provide a slight convexity at the cutting edge. This will help to avoid digging in the sides while chipping. Keep moving the chisel across the face of to prevent formation of curves and grooves at the cutting edges. Dip the chisel frequently in the coolant to avoid overheating. Overheating will draw the temper of the chisel. If the chisel head is mushroomed, it should be cleaned by or grinded by using grinding machine. Use only the front of the grinding wheel. Do not grind on the sides of the wheel. Precaution to be observed while grinding. Use goggles while using a grinding machine. Any damage to the grinding wheel, if noticed, it should be immediately replaced. Do not use cotton waste or other material for holding the chisel while grinding. I hope you are all understood about the necessity for sharpening of chisel, procedure for sharpening of chisel, safety precaution to be observed while grinding the chisel by using pedestal grinding machine. We will see the next video. Thank you.
Greetings and welcome you all on behalf of NIMI. I am Thangababu from Government ITI, Chengalpattu, Tamil Nadu. Today our class is about snips. At the end of this class, you shall be able to describe snips, state the types of snips, tell the features and uses of shear levers, and finally the uses of circle cutting machines. Let us see one by one. Snips. Snips is also called hand shear. It is used like a pair of scissors to cut thin and soft metal sheets.
Moreover, it is used to cut sheet metal up to 1.2 mm thickness. Now let us see types of snips. There are many types of snips used for making straight and circular cuts. Mostly the straight and curved snips are used in sheet metal workshop. The choice of snips depends on the shape and types of the cut required. Now let us see straight snips. It is used for making straight cuts and large external curves. The straight snips have thin blades. It is only strong on a vertical planes. It is only suitable for straight cut and external curves. The blade of snips should not cover the marking. Second, bent snips. These snips have curved blades for making circular cut. They are also used for trimming cylindrical or conical work in sheet metal. The overall length and shape of blade are taken to specific in snips. Example, 200 mm straight snip. Next, lever shears. Lever shears are used to cut sheets which cannot be cut by using hand shears. It is having a fixed lower blade and a movable upper blade. To avoid the sheet tilting, an adjustable clamping device is provided. It can be adjusted to the thickness of the sheet. Now let us see the circle cutting and curve cutting machines. These types of machines are used to cut desired shapes and to form a circle and curves. In these machines, the sheet must be guided by the hand during cutting curves. I hope that you are able to state snips, its types and its uses. Thank you. See you in the next video.
Greeting and welcome all. I am Sasireka, Junior Training Officer from Government ITI, Perumbakam, Chennai. Today we are going to discuss about spanners. So the main objectives of today's class is define spanners, types of spanners and specify spanners. Spanner is a common tool we use in our day-to-day life. In mechanical field, we find spanners in any toolkit or car garage and automobile workshops also. Spanners are hand tools used for fastening and loosening nuts or bolts. They are made of high tensile or alloy steel and also made with drop forged and heat treated for strength. Now let us see the main types of spanners: open end spanner, ring spanner, combination spanner, adjustable spanner and socket spanner. First one is open end spanner or double end spanner. The open ended spanner is the most common type and may have a single or double end. The head has its jaws offset by about 15 degrees from the run of the shaft. So the spanner can be turned over to engage different flats of a nut when working in confined spaces. Next one is ring spanner. As the name implies, the ring spanner usually has a completely enclosed head and may have 6 or 12 flats. A ring spanner can be inserted into a more confined space. It has the advantage of contact with all 6 points of the hexagon. Ring spanners are stronger than the open-ended type. but it does need access to fit it over the net and can take a little time to locate it correctly. Next tool is combination spanner. One closed loop heads for hex or square nuts and one U-shaped head. For difficult nut, closed end loosen the nut and open end quickly unscrew it. Next one important tool is adjustable spanner. Most common types of adjustable spanners are similar to open end spanners, but they have one movable jaw. Spanner can be adjusted from 0 to 28.5 mm. Adjustable spanners may range in length from 100 mm to 760 mm. Next one is socket spanner. The socket is one of the fastest and most convenient of all the spanners. Use a driving mechanism similar to a ratcheting wrench. It allows adjustments without repositioning wrench. In socket spanners, its accessories includes swivel socket, socket handles and socket extension bars. Here, the swivel socket helps the user to turn fasteners at an angle. Socket handles are the speed handles used during turning. Also, it helps in turning rapidly. Now, let us see specifications of spanner. Size of a spanner. It is determined by the nut or bolt it fits. In the metric system, spanners are marked with the size across the jaw opening followed by the abbreviation mm. Length of spanners. Normally, spanners have a length that is about 10 times the width of the jaw opening. As the fastener size increases, the length of the spanner will also increase. Now, we have to ensure some things while handling spanners. The face of the spanner must be free from oil and grease. Do not use spanner as hammers. Always ensure that a spanner fits the flats on a nut perfectly. A loose fit will damage the nut and cause slipping. Where a nut is very tight, ensure your hand has a clear area of movement. The sudden release of a nut under pressure can lead to grazed knuckles. So in today's session, we have discussed about spanners and their types. I hope you all understand about spanners. See you in the next video. Thank you.
Greeting and welcome all on behalf of NIMI, Chennai. I am G. Rajeshwarna from National Skill Training Institute, Chennai. Today our topic is standard and standardization. So what is standard and standardizations? If we want to buy a bolt and nut, we are going for a shop and we are asking the shopkeeper to give a bolt and nut. So what he will do? He will definitely ask what size of the bolt and nut do you want. So we have to say the correct specification of the bolt and nut, then only he can give us a correct size what we need. One more example, A4 size paper. So whatever the paper brand, the dimensions of the A4 size paper is always same. So the dimensions of A4 size paper is same, the dimensions of A3 size paper. So whatever the brand, they maintain the same dimensions for the papers. So this is what we call as a standard. And what is standardization? The process of creating are maintaining the standard with guidelines is called standardization. Standardization is the process by which the quality, the quantity and the value performance is compared and measured with the standard units. The standardizations can be applied to any performances, any task, any process that is relevant to the organization. Let us see in detail about standard and standardization. So first one, standardization. Standardization is the process of formulating and applying rules for an ordinarily approach to specific activity. Standardization ensures the benefit of the user and the manufacturer. It promotes optimum overall economy with the consideration of functional conditions and safety requirements. It is based on the consolidated results of science, techniques and experience. It determines not only the basis for the present but also for future development and to keep pace with the progress. Next, standard. Standard can be defined as the formulation established verbally in writing or by any other graphical method or by means of a model, sample or other physical means of representation to serve during a certain period of time for defining, designating or specifying certain features of a unit or basis of measurement, physical object, an action, process, method, practice, capacity, function, duty, right of responsibility or a behavior or an attitude, a concept or a conception. I hope now you understand what is standard and what is standardization, right? Okay, now let us see what is ISO. So ISO, which stands for International Organization for Standardizations. Throughout the world, there are so many products, goods, equipments are manufactured day to day. So the manufacturers are importing and exporting their goods not only within their country but throughout the world. So the tools or any equipments or any materials which is produced in any country should be of certain standard. So to meet this standard, to maintain the standard, the International Organization for Standardization ISO has been started, and it specifies the units of measurement, technology and symbols, products and process, safety of persons and goods through a number of booklets coded with ISO number. According to our country, to sell Indian goods in local and international market, certain standardization methods are essential. This standard is specified by the Bureau of Indian Standard BIS for various goods through their booklets. BIS is commonly known by ISI. The BIS certify the product only when the product meets the specification and passes the necessary test. The manufacturer allows to use the BIS, that is ISI mark, on the product only after the BIS certification of the particular product is available. Next, the standard organization and the respective countries are given below. BIS, Bureau of Indian Standard, commonly known ISI, the country India. ISO, International Organization for Standardizations. Next one, JIS, Japanese Industrial Standard, the country Japan. BSI, British Standards Institutions, which is located in Britain. Next one is DIN, Deutsche Industries Normen, which is located in Germany. Next one is GOST located in Russia. Last one is ASA, American Standards Association located in America. So now you know what is standard, what is standardizations, the organizations for standardizations and the benefits of standardization. Thank you all. See you in our next video.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, आइए अब जानते हैं कि अगर आपके पास कोई स्मार्टफोन